Okay, so yesterday we started 5-7. Today we're going to finish 5-7. You're going to see some similarities here. Okay, so put your name on this. And again, with your notes, just remember, you need to write down whatever I write down because I give you points for notes. So make sure that you have these as a tool. So the point slope form, you need a point, x1, y1, and m. These are the three things that you plug in to the equation. So for point slope, you need to plug in x1, y1, and m. For slope intercept, all you need is the m and the b. So keep in mind the b is the y-intercept. So 2 things to plug in for this equation, 3 things to plug in there. So example 1, we actually did that yesterday. So if you were here yesterday, this might feel familiar. And then what we also worked on yesterday was annotations, which I know is something you're familiar with from English. So something that you are going to want to do is underline what you have to do. So it says write an equation. So I'm going to underline that. That way I know my answer is an equation. It's not just a number. Okay? Your answer has to be an equation. Now it's going to tell you what form it should be in. So yesterday we had some that had to be written in point slope form. This one says slope intercept form. Okay, so if it's slope intercept form, a good thing to do is to write what that form is underneath so you know what your final solution should look like. Okay, now it says for a line with a slope of 1. Okay, and we know that slope is m. So this means if it says slope of 1, m equals 1. And then it contains this point. Every single point starts with what letter? Every point has what form? What are the letters that coordinate to the points? X1 and Y1. Okay? So you have X1 and Y1. That means for X1, you're going to plug in -1. For Y1, you're going to plug in 4. So will you guys write that on the side for me? Do you guys want me to zoom that in? Maybe for the back? A little bit, yeah. Huh? All right, so this is the one where you have 3 steps. The first step is going to be to write it in point slope form. Then you distribute. Then you solve for y. Okay, so we're just going to write the 3 steps on this side, and then we're going to do them. I want you to write these 3 steps down. That way, if you're ever not sure what to do, you can look and see, okay, the first thing I have to do is write in point slope form, which is above. Okay, you're going to distribute on the right side. And then you're going to solve for y. And then your final answer should be in y equals mx plus b. Okay, so if you were here yesterday, I want you to plug in your values into this equation. And write down your equation so that you can line those up. Okay, so Gabe, will you tell me what you got on this side here, what you plugged in?
Plugged in y. I mean, not y, 1, -1.
Okay, so for y, we're going to leave that. So leave that as y minus. But then what did we label as the y1? So do you have this written down over here like I do? Okay, so which one is our y1? No. 4. Yep, okay, so on this side you should have y minus 4. Okay, and then Avery, can you tell me what you plugged in on this side here?
For the equals 1 x minus -1.
Good. Okay, and I like that she said the minus and -1, because you do have to have both of those. So your m is 1. You never are going to plug anything in for x. Remember how I said above here, you're only plugging in for x1, y1, and m. Now, another thing we learned yesterday is when you have minus and negative, well, we didn't learn that yesterday, we reviewed it yesterday. If you have minus and negative, that changes to a what? Plus a positive. So you have the double negatives, you're going to change it to positive. Okay, and then in step 2, it says distribute. So for step 2, when you distribute, you're going to multiply by 1. And notice that it says on the right side. This is the only side where we're going to distribute. So when you distribute, you multiply. 1 times x is 1x. 1 times 1 is going to be 1. And then this side stays the same. Okay, and then you only have one more step. So some of you are going to be able to do that step without me. I ran out of room there, so I'm going to go to step 3 over here. Okay, so I rewrote this in the point slope form, then I distributed. Okay, now I have to solve for y, which means I'm getting it in the form y equals mx plus b. Okay, so Bree, if I have y minus 4 on this side, what do I need to move over? Okay, so what is next to the y? Yep, and more specifically? -4. Okay, so to move a negative over, you have to do what? Yeah, good. Okay, so you're going to add 4 to both sides. Now, when you're adding 4, I'm going to put it underneath the 1. Why am I going to put it underneath the 1 and not the x? Yeah, because 1 is going to be what you're going to add the 4 to because they are like terms. Yeah, they're both just numbers. They don't have any variables. So x is going to stay the same. 1 plus 4 is going to be 5. And now I've written an equation in slope-intercept form. So this is your final solution. Okay? So this is actually a review from yesterday. So if you weren't here yesterday, the last example on the front page is just like this, just with different numbers. Okay? All right, so for example 2, let's do our annotations again. So I always like to underline what it's asking me to do. So again, I have write an equation. Okay, what form does it have to be in? Yep, slope-intercept. So if it's in slope-intercept form, again, that's the y equals mx plus b. So the same form as last time. The thing that is different is we're going to do this for the line that goes through 2 points. Okay? So when you are given 2 points, you can find the slope. That is going to be the first thing that we're going to do. So in this section, we're putting things together that we have already done. Okay, but we're just doing multiple steps at the same time. Okay, and then so when you have this, when you have your 2 points, okay, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to find the slope. And there's a special formula. Yeah, just wait till we finish this. Okay, so we have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, and then, yeah, we got to finish this first. Okay, so when you are finding the slope, I want you to write down this equation. Some of you might remember it from earlier. Okay, so when you're given 2 points, you can label the first one x1, y1, and you can label the second one x2, y2. Okay, and the first one I'm going to remind you how to do this from what we did earlier. Okay, and then for the next one, I'm going to have you do that. Okay, and then once you've labeled those, remember that your y always goes on the top. Okay, the y is what goes on the top. Okay. That's blurry to you, right? Just making sure. All right, so can you guys plug in the y1 and the y2? Okay, so if you have your y2 labeled as 10, you're going to plug that in. Remember, it's always 10 minus. Okay, so it'll be 10 minus negative 2. So will you put the minus and negative, and then after you write that down, you can write plus a positive. So 10 minus negative 2 is going to be 10 plus 2. And then on the bottom, you're going to have 3 minus 1. Okay, and then will you guys calculate that across? And I'm going to have to make a part 2.